Hey everybody, so it's time for my April wrap up, and I have to be honest, I had a fantastic reading month in April. A bit all over the place, all sorts of different types of books, but all of them so good. So I cannot wait to tell you all about them. So let's get started. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you today? I hope you're healthy. I hope you're safe. I hope you are, of course, reading an amazing book or two or three or four. I have to tell you that it is the day, it's actually a Monday, the day after my birthday. So I am today doing a ton of recording to try to catch up. I have so many books and so many videos that I need to make and I want to tell you all about. So for the next few videos, you may be seeing the same Russell. I apologize, I will not be changing my outfit, but different content because I'm going to try to knock a bunch of these out today. And today it is all about the amazing books that I read in the month of April. It really was a fantastic reading month, all over the place, inspired by so many different things. So I have a stack of books that I want to make sure is on your TBR. So get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, however you keep track of that TBR. If you are so able, please order these books from your local independent bookstore. I think this is a month of everything I've read is out, so you can get your hands on these as soon as possible, or get your library to get you a copy if that is how you do your reading. So the first book I want to talk about is a book that I want more people to read because it is so good, and I feel just didn't get the attention that it deserves, and that is Acorss by Rebecca Kauffman. This is out from Counterpoint Press. And Rebecca Kauffman wrote a book called The Gunners a few years ago that was everywhere, I believe. A lot of people were talking about it. And this book is just so very good. So this is the story of the Shaw family, and it's really the story of the Shaw children, and their lives are really sort of formed by two events. One is the death of their mother. Now you find out the cause of her death is really sort of up for debate within the family, and you find how that debate has formed some of the Shaw children and who they go on to be and the relationships they have. The other event is the pregnancy of one of the young Shaw girls. She gets pregnant very young by a man who is a bit older than her. I'm putting that in that. I hope you heard the sarcasm in my voice there. But it's in a time period where she winds up in a relationship with him, and how that sort of forms other sort of relationships within the family. People that don't believe sort of the onset of their relationship, her own sort of creating her own narrative so she feels better about what had happened, and all of those dynamics. And what we get through the whole thing is a conversation about siblings and a conversation about family at its heart, and really tough choices, and yeah, just things that really form this family in such a way. They are so three-dimensional and they're so impactful in sort of the things that they have to go through. I absolutely loved it. I flew through it. I just thought it was so well written, and it was just like I felt like I was there going through a lot of this with the Shaw family. Even the father, who is sort of this character that's always in the background, was someone I knew. Like I've known men like him, and sort of a powerful sort of presence or absence of presence in a lot of ways. Okay, I hope I did a good job because I really do want you to read this amazing book. And that is Acorss by Rebecca Kauffman, and this is again out from Counterpoint Press. Okay, the next book we're going to do is, actually the next two books we're going to talk about are a couple of novellas out from Tor. The first one is Comeuppance Served Cold by Marion. This came out last month, I believe, and this is a romp. I read this in a Saturday morning. I got my coffee, so I get up about 5:15 on Saturdays. I walk my dogs, I make my coffee, and I sit down, and I usually either finish a book or start a book. In the case of Comeuppance Served Cold, I started and finished a book in the couple of hours that I sort of have to myself and my dogs. This is a fantasy sort of reinvention of modern history set in the 1920s in Seattle. It has to do with prohibition, but it also has to do with sort of this magic council trying to take over this sort of like punish those who are lesser magic users, and also like this whole entire scheme to sort of turn the city on its head. At the heart of it is like a caper, for lack of a better word, a woman who has decided to try to infiltrate this family, and what are her reasons and what is she trying to get. And there's a lot to do with race, there's a lot to do with class, and also sort of that fun sort of 1920s vibe to it. It is just a fun romp. I absolutely loved it. I read it in a minute. And I don't know much about Marion Deeds, and I really enjoyed her book, and I'm going to be looking for more from her. So that's Comeuppance Served Cold by Marion Deeds, and this one is out from Tor.com. Now, another Tor novella that goes in a completely different horror direction and is the first in a trilogy, and all three of those books are out. I'm only going to talk about the first today because I have read it. I will mention the other two are out as well, but this is The Murders of Molly Southbourne by Tade Thompson, and again, this is out from Tor. Now, Tade Thompson wrote a book, and I apologize, the name of it, Rosewater? Was it Rosewater? That was everywhere. It had that fantastic, beautiful cover. And then he wrote this crazy novella series that, again, is so intense and dark and just plain good. But what's it about, Russell, you're asking? Molly Southbourne is a young woman who lives very remotely, who finds out as a teenager that when she bleeds, the drops of blood turn into clones of herself. And at different intervals, those clones then come to find her to kill her. And so she and her parents sort of train her and their whole family really on ways to kill these clones that are coming after her. And she learns how to like clean up after herself, clean up after the blood. She is a young woman, so there's a one time a month where she has to deal with something that could turn into these clones, and they drop in the ground. Sorry, and come out. Did you say that again? Siri liked what I was saying, so I apologize for that. And she goes to college, and sort of how that complicates everything. There's tragedy, and there's just, it was so, like, I can see the miniseries in my head already. And it is creepy and clever and crazy and so good. So I can't wait to read the rest. But this is the first one, The Murders of Molly Southbourne by Tade Thompson, out from Tor. I will talk about the rest as I read them. Then we went into a little bit of YA fantasy, and I read the Gilded ones by Namina? Forna. The reason I read this was because the publisher was really kind enough to send me the second book, but I hadn't read the first book. So I went and I got it, and it was a 5-star fantasy YA read for me. I absolutely loved it. So set in a patriarchal world where at a certain age, young girls are tested, their blood is tested. If it turns out red and normal, they are, they're allowed to enter society, but they have to wear these masks over their face for the rest of their lives. The way that is like sort of explained throughout sort of the historical world building is crazy and so good. But at the heart of this book is our young main character. And what happens if your blood is not, if it's actually gold, is that you are treated as a monster. You're considered a demon and you are killed. But she is rescued by a woman who is in a group who is collecting these young women who have this gold blood to create an army to fight this invasion force that is coming. It is like a little bit like campus sort of novel about like school and competing and training and magic and all of that kind of stuff. It's about the patriarchy taking over and what you find out, which I will not spoil. It's about so much, and it is you fly through the pages. The story is so good. The next one, The Merciless Ones, is the continuation of this story, and I have it on my shelf, and I cannot wait to read it. And yeah, I absolutely love this. So if you have a YA reader in your life or are a YA reader yourself, I highly, highly recommend this. So that's the Gilded ones by Namina Forna, and this is out from Ember Press right now. I think that's the paperback copy. It could have a different publisher for the hardback. One of my most anticipated reads, and was absolutely not a letdown, is the amazing novel Bloomsbury Girls by Natalie Jenner. And if you guys remember, Natalie Jenner wrote the Jane Austen Society that I raved about a couple of years ago. This is her sophomore book. And I think in like the description of it, she wrote most of this book during the pandemic. And this is the story of three women who work at a bookstore and are not happy with sort of how things are going, and they're going to change their lives. There's a lot of crossover to the people that we met in the Jane Austen Society, which was lovely to see those characters again. But really at the heart of this is a bookstore. There's one woman who wants to be a writer more than anything. She also wants to be in charge of the fiction section because she wants to change the names and the authors that are getting out there. We have one woman who is in a relationship with her husband who hasn't worked for some time. That relationship is toxic, but she's staying in it because of her children, and she's sort of the glue that keeps the bookstore together. One of those people that is so taken for granted for everything they do. And then we have another young woman who is a main character in the Jane Austen Society. So I highly recommend reading them back to back. And they're so different that you will not get any sort of fatigue because they're so much fun. But she is searching for this manuscript that she knew existed that would change sort of the dialogue on modern science fiction writing. That's all I'll say. This book is very dense in its description of the time and the period, and it has such a way of just sort of engulfing you in this sort of post-World War England, and it's just great. And you're in a bookstore, and you're talking about books, and you're talking about literature, and you're talking about writing. There's like romance, and there's just like a little bit of everything in this novel, and it's everything you're going to want to read for the summer, I'm telling you. So that's Bloomsbury Girls by Natalie Jenner. If you haven't read the Jane Austen Society, you can read this one separate, but if you read that one, it just adds a second sort of layer to the nuance of this one that was just fun. It was a lot of fun to see characters pop up again and really just enjoy them coming back. So read them both. Read one at a time, however you want to do it. Just read them. And that's Bloomsbury Girl, Natalie Jenner. And I apologize. I said most of these is out. This is St. Martin's Press. This comes out this month. I'm not sure it's exactly out yet, but it is a Book of the Month Club pick, I believe. Yeah, all of that. Read it. You'll love it. I promise. Okay. This is actually quite a stack now that I'm looking at it. The next book that I read was this novella. This is How You Lose the Time War. This is by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Goldstone. This is out from Saga Press, and I believe this won a Hugo a couple of years ago now. Told from two different perspectives. We have two women. One is a robot that works for a sort of like a technology future, and one is a young woman who works for sort of the nature aspect, and they have been at war. They are constantly at war. They traverse many timelines trying to sort of destroy each other and make their side sort of win. Told in letters, a lot of it is told in letters between these two women, and it has a very sort of romantic and at times steamy interaction between the two of them. But really at its heart, this is a discussion, at least for me, and I'm going to say this and you can take it. This is a discussion of the argument between technology and nature and how one cannot survive without the other. And these women are both on opposite sides of that divide, and their relationship sort of points to the fact that all of the good they could do if they came together versus fighting one another. There's time travel. The world building is a little bit vague. It's a novella, but it allows a lot of imagination. It's super fun. Yeah, it is really, really good. So I'm very happy we read this for the Spilling Tea Book Club. And This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone out from Saga Press. Yeah, that one was really, really good. A bit of a surprise for me. One other book that I read for a book club was Fiona and Jane by Jean Chen Ho. This is out from Viking Press. This is a debut novel. It is a collection of interconnected short stories about two young Asian women, Fiona and Jane, who are friends, very vast friends when they're younger. They sort of separate as they go older and come back together. And the stories sort of transverse the time and the development of their relationship. This deals with queerness, this deals with family, this deals with sort of societal racism in a lot of ways. It deals with a lot of really tough topics. I liked this book. I think it had a lot of potential. I think it is a little too surface for me. I wanted it to get a little more gritty, a little more dirty, get its hands in there a bit more. Fiona and Jane are interesting, but at times interchangeable. And I struggled a little bit trying to get that separation between the two of them. I'm interested in what Jean Chen Ho does next. I think this book has a lot of potential, and she does as a writer. It seemed very cinematic, like I almost could see the movie before I could see the book, if that makes sense. But overall, I think it's a very good read if you're looking for interconnected short stories. Fiona and Jane, Jean Chen Ho, out from Viking Press. Okay, then something happened, y'all. Then I watched Heartstopper, the TV show. And I have loved Heartstopper, the graphic novels, and it just made me have this desire beyond all belief to read some gay YA that would just really just be fun for me. And I have to say it was quite an adventure because I have a bunch of this on my shelves and I just sort of picked books up. And so we're going to talk about two that I read right afterwards. And this is the first one, Date Me, Bryson Keller, by Kevin Van Whye. I'm sorry, Kevin, if I'm saying your last name wrong. I'm going to start with the fact that I want to say I loved this book and I'm going to highly recommend it. I do not like this cover though. So that is like one of those weird things where I'm like, the cover is, the book is so much more. That's all I'm going to say because Kevin has written a fantastic little gay YA novel. So the premise of this book is this really popular kid is sort of at a party one night and challenged because he's never really had a relationship that there's this bet that is put down that on Monday, one person will come up to him and ask him to date them. And he will date that person for the entire week. And it's more or less only during the school time. Because he doesn't really believe in sort of the commitment of a relationship in high school and that it will go anywhere else. And then one time, for the first time, our main character, a young boy, asks Bryson Keller out. And they decide to sort of keep it on the down low. They don't announce it, but Bryson Keller does say he is dating someone from that week and their relationship develops. And as we sort of learn more about who these two young men are, you sort of see them come together and their need for each other and support. It is charming and lovely and just like my heart was so happy when this book was over and I could have read it again. I started this on, I want to say, a Wednesday night after work. So I probably started it about 5:30. I picked it up. I finished it by the time I went to bed. I was just totally in love with it. I think it is adorable. I need to find more books by Kevin. So that's Kevin Van Whye's Date Me, Bryson Keller. Absolutely adorable. Absolutely lovely. Okay, then I read a book that I had seen a bunch of places, and that's Camp by L.C. Rosen, and this is out from Little Brown. Oh, I should say that the Random House did Date Me, Bryson Keller. And this book was not, maybe it's just me. I told you that I just celebrated my birthday. They're making a lot of noise outside my window right now, so I apologize. And maybe it's just my age. I just had a birthday. I'm in my mid-40s, and maybe there was just something about this that didn't sit well. But this is a book about a camp for queer children in Connecticut that they go to every summer, and the relief of being able to just be sort of yourself in camp for an entire summer. And our main character has actually come to the camp many years, but this time he arrives a different person because he's decided he wants this sort of straight presenting gay teen that he's been in love with for a long time to recognize him. So what he has done, he's a theater kid. He's like a nail polish, brightly colored hair kind of kid. He's given all of that up. He starts to work out. He just sort of masculinizes himself. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. And as he makes himself more masculine, he comes to, and he even changes his name, like what he's called when he gets there. Now, he has a group of friends in the theater group that he's still residing with, but he has sort of told them that he has this whole plan in regards to getting this boy to fall in love with him. And this is about a kid that basically hides everything about himself as a queer youth to get this boy who has a lot of internalized and vocalized homophobia against people who present themselves more just naturally who they are. And yes, there's a wrap up, there's an end. It all sort of comes together. But I was not feeling that message. I wasn't bought into it, to be honest with you. And it kind of like irked me, for lack of a better term. I did like the theater kids. I did like his friends. They are very, very charming. The sexual part of this book was a little more graphic than even I expected for what it was, but it was fine. I don't think that it was completely inappropriate, but it wasn't sort of what I thought was going to happen. But there's a lot in it. You get a lot out of it. You get a lot of conversations, but at the heart of it, it's about someone who changes everything about themselves for someone else, and sort of this internalized hatred. I don't know. It's very hard for me to explain. I liked it. I didn't love it, but yeah, it may speak to you in a different way. I'm a gay man in my 40s. Maybe it's just not for me. So that's Camp by L.C. Rosen, out from Little Brown. Last but not least, I told you, I read a lot in the month of April, was the essay collection, The Good Immigrant, 26 Writers Reflect on America, edited by Nikesh Shukla and Chamin Suleiman, and I hope I'm saying their names right. This is 26 different American writers talking about being an immigrant in the United States. Vastly different ways and styles, some very poetic, some very operatic almost, some very straightforward essay-like tones, some more almost like narrative nonfiction, all with very common themes. And I think that this book did a good job of reminding me how, I dive into this a lot. It's something that I'm very passionate about, how we treat people and everything like this. And to hear historical references to how long we in America have poorly treated the immigrant community and different people from different cultures, it's heart-wrenching and horrifying. But there was a sense of strength and fortitude and just coming through a lot of that that I found very, very powerful. Yeah, it's definitely worth the read. I almost would say read it in bits and pieces instead of straight through, because I think if you do that, you're able to sort of chew on each person's story a little more completely. But you will see towards the end, you're like, okay, you see this sort of common theme between these experiences that are all so vastly different. Yeah, definitely worth the time. So this is The Good Immigrant by 26 Writers. The Good Immigrant, 26 Writers Reflect on America, edited by Nikesh Shukla and Chamin Suleiman, and this is out from Back Bay Books here in the United States. The UK version came out first. The American version was to follow. So that was definitely, if you're in the UK or that neck of the woods, you can find that version as well. So that was a pretty great stack of books. I'm not going to try to hold it up because I'll tell you right now it would drop and go everywhere. As always, if you are a return subscriber to my channel, I could not do this without you. Thank you so very, very much. If you are new to my channel, I hope you click that subscribe button. I hope you hit the bell, all of those things. As always, I encourage you to read locally. No, that's not what I encourage you to do. I encourage you to shop locally, read globally. And until next time, I wish you happy reading, everyone. Bye.